Today, I'm going to show you guys all of my sharpening kit. I'm a knife guy. Dudes, I am. I should just say I'm an edge tool guy. Because I love knives, tomahawks, axes, all that stuff. Particularly, I'm a big knife guy. I carry them around a lot. Today, rocking the K-bar pot belly, you know. And dudes, to be honest, I like a scary, sharp-ass knife. And the way I've lived over the past 11 years especially is very minimalist in a lot of ways. So what I've done is I've kind of developed my sharpening kit over the course of that time. And it's pretty much lightweight stuff and stuff I can carry with me in a vehicle, no problem if I want to, but also stuff I can just carry on my person or keep in bags like my haversack or the get home bag, that kind of thing. And I want to share my kit with you guys today so you can see what I've been using and all that business. And first, let me tell you that the approach I've taken is one where I don't need electricity to get the job done. I don't need some big fancy setup at a workbench down in the shop to get the job done. I hand sharpen everything. That's what I do. So if the power went out tomorrow, I'm not going to notice. That's a lot of how I've taken that approach with a lot of my life. If the power goes out, I'm not going to know. So let's get right into it. 90% of my knife sharpening gets done with two parts of my kit. Okay, the first one is these ceramic rods right here. They came in a nice suede pouch, which you can strop with, by the way. I probably ought to go ahead and rub some green compound on this at some point in time, but I have stropped with it. You guys can tell that it's been used to strop. The rods themselves, I got one that's a little more coarse, and I've got one that's more on the fine side. It's probably time to give this a good wipe down. And dudes, I usually use vinegar and water mixture. Make sure you dry it when you're done so you don't get any rusting. Most of the time, if I'm going to be sharpening knives, this is what I'm going to use. I'm the dude that likes my knives scary sharp. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to shave a fly's butthole with my knife when I'm done with it. So, you know, touching her up daily pretty much on this stone, that's a lot of what happens. After I use my ceramic stones, if I really need to and really want it, you know, extra scary sharp, we're going to the strop. And dudes, this is just a cheap strop I bought off of Amazon. All right. And it's a hanging strop. But I'm going to tell you, I think that the ones on the wooden blocks are better. So usually what I'll do is I'll take this down off my wall and just put it on my coffee table right here and get the job done there. The wood offers a little bit of additional resistance. So when you're wiping your blade, you're not getting as much bending. It's staying more stiff. It's a little easier to use and get a good edge on your knife that way. I use a green polishing compound. That's all I use. I don't feel the need to go to white, you know, to get it that extra polish or to go to any of the coarser compounds. This works just fine for me. And I want to say I purchased this little block about 4 years ago, and it's seen pretty regular use. I still have plenty of it left over, so it goes quite a long ways if you're not being wasteful. The next one is this little baby. This little Worksharp. I don't remember the exact name, but I'll tell you what, I'll look it up and I'll put it down in my description, a link to it, an affiliate link if you're interested. But this has been a pretty good tool. It's not that heavy. It probably weighs like 3-4 ounces. And what you get is you get a coarse diamond stone, a more fine diamond stone, and then you get a ceramic rod. And they call this a fishhook sharpener, I think. I don't know. Do you really need to sharpen your fish hooks? I mean, I've never found the need to. This ceramic rod's got some interesting little grooves on it. They say it adds more teeth to your knife, which apparently is good for a working knife. I don't know if that's true. It could be gimmicky. I don't know. But the stone works just fine. You also get a little leather strop on it. I'd obviously rather use my big strop than this little strop. This one's all right, you know. It'll get the job done, but it's going to take more time and just not be as awesome as a big one. There's also some directions on the inside of one of the diamond stones. So, not a bad tool for beginners. It also has these 20-degree guides for the angle of your knife. So if you're a beginner, this is not a bad place to start for hand sharpening. So I highly recommend this one, dudes. Like I said, I don't use it day to day, but if I found that I've kind of beaten on a knife pretty hard and I need to take it way back, I'm going to use this and my core stones, or I'll use my bigger stones. But usually I go to this one because it's handy. I usually keep this in my haversack. Let's talk about one of these cheapies, man. Made in China, baby. I just got one of these in my new small Rapala that I just bought. And you know what? A lot of people don't think these have any value. Thanks, honey. But the reality is that they're cheap, they're super lightweight, and it's so easy to throw one of these in a bag. What you do need to be aware of is that ceramic is only going to take you so far when it comes to getting a knife sharp. And you have to stay up on a sharp knife with your ceramic rod. You let it fall behind and you get to a point where, you know, it's gotten too dull or you've beaten on it too much. Now you need something more coarse. Okay, this won't do the job if you get to that point. But if you have one of these, you know, dude, I don't think there's any shame in using one of these to keep a knife sharp. This is going to go in one of my bags. All right. Let's talk about my DC6. I used to have a Fallkniven DC6 and I lost it. I'd love to blame my wife for losing it because we put it in her pack when she went to visit her brother, and then I'm not sure where it went, but that's how my brain kind of works. I put stuff somewhere super smart and then I don't find it again. So it's probably floating around here somewhere, but basically the DC6 is a little sharpening stone that's coarse on one side and a more fine gray ceramic on the other. It's roughly the size of this box. So it's not very big, dudes. It's flat. They come in a nice little leather case and great for sharpening small scandies in the field, but it's still a little small for that. I'm just going to tell you, in my opinion, it's a little small. So I actually ordered a DC4, which is the larger version. It'll still fit in a pocket, still very lightweight, and just not that much heavier, I'm sure, than the DC6, dudes. Where I would recommend a DC6 is if you're big into backpacking and you really need to keep your weight down. Other than that, I'd recommend a DC4, and even if you had to bug out, seriously, or you're going to put a stone in a haversack, they're just bigger and they're much easier to use, and you're going to get more life out of it because you have more surface area. So look at one of those if you're interested. Put it in the comments if you'd like to see a review once I get my new one, by the way. Or anything you're going to see in this video for that matter. If you want to see a review specific to that item, let me know. Let's get into tomahawk and axe sharpening tools. Number one, the top one for me, is this Lansky Puck. All right, guys, you're going to see that it's got a coarse side and it has a fine side. All right, and all you do is you put a little oil on it and you work that edge. You start with the coarse one if needed. You know, a lot of times you're not going to need it if you're staying up on your hawk or your axe, okay? But in case you get some nicks or something like that, you start with the coarse side and you work your way over to the fine side after you've gotten those nicks out. But I want you guys to take a look at this stone here. And I used this for 3 years on the road, living out in the boonies a lot, and collecting my own firewood a lot for just heat and cooking and all that kind of stuff, okay? So you can tell it doesn't appear to have much wear on it. I wasn't overly anal about keeping my tomahawks and axes sharp like I am with my knives, but it still saw a lot of use, and this thing has a ton of life left in it. And guys, if I had to bug out with something I'm going to use to sharpen hawks and axes, this would be the thing that's going to be going with me. Files. I have a couple of files I use around here, but I'll be honest, dudes, if I had to bail, they're not going in a pack. They're just too heavy. A coarse file will get a ton of work done if you need to reprofile an edge. A lot of times you get a new hawk or an axe from a manufacturer, and you know what? They just did not do a good job on the edge profile, and so I feel the need to redo those, and this is going to save you a lot of time, okay? But it's very aggressive. It's very aggressive. These coarse files like this, and I think this is just a standard mill bastard file, I think is what it's called. I don't know. I'm not like a file pro, all right? But that's what I believe that is. Next is another file that's not quite so coarse. And dudes, this will reprofile a hawk or an axe, but you know what? Take a half day off of work. It's going to take a lot longer to get the job done with this. It will do it though. At the same time, this probably would not be going with me in a bug out bag, especially in this size. If I had one that was smaller and thinner and lighter, maybe I'd consider it. But for now, my plan would just be to bring my Lansky Puck with me. I have some larger whetstones that I use. These came with a nice little bamboo platform. You can see this is 400 and 1000 grit. Now, look at my 400 grit stone. You can tell it's got quite a bit of wear on it. I really bought these stones to reprofile a couple of knives that I have, and they worked great for that purpose, but to be honest, I really don't use them that much. This kit also came with a 3000 and an 8000 grit stone. 8000 is going to be a high polish, and 3000 is going to be a polish as well. Is it necessary? Not really. If you want a really shiny edge on your knife, that's how you get it done. But boy, we're talking about spending some time, all right? These big stones would not be going with me if the SHTF and I had to leave this place. I'd just stick them somewhere and hope I don't ever have to come back and get them. But if I had to, you know, I'd at least know where they were and could recover them in the future if that need arose. Let's talk about my little ceramic rod here. Now, I had this in a Ziploc baggie for a reason, dudes, to waterproof it. I use a sandwich bag. I don't know why. I probably was out of freezer bags. Freezer bags are the way to go. They're much thicker. They're going to last a lot longer. And that's what you do if you're putting stuff in a bag that you don't want to get wet. It doesn't have to be exposed. If it does get exposed because you have to hump your ass back freaking home because the SHTF went down while you were in town, you want your stuff waterproofed. So make sure you go through and waterproof all your stuff in your bags. At any rate, I've had this thing for like 20 years, man. This little diamond rod. It's so damn old. It was made in the USA. But it's got a flat side on it, which is what I've used the most, you can tell. And then it has a round side. And all you do is just put it in here, tighten it down. To get a knife field sharp, this is just great. It works fine. And it's super duper lightweight. So, you know, you guys probably know, if you've watched enough of my videos, I like redundancies. There's no way I'd ever go out in SHTF bugging out with one way to sharpen knives. It wouldn't happen. I would go with multiple basic and similar items so I have that extra redundancy. And this is definitely one of the ones I'd be bringing with me. That's it, guys. I'm going to leave it right there. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Comments down below. Did you learn something? Did you not? What are you using? Do you have some other suggestions? Specifically for those of you that have the diamond plates with the little folding handles that are pocket size. I've been curious about those. I'd like to hear from you down in the comments if you're using one that you're super duper happy with, especially one with kind of like a bit of a coarse and then like kind of a finer fine on one side. I'd like to hear about that. Like, share, subscribe to the video. Check out my Patreon link in the description. I have tons of extra content on there. I'm doing info dumps for my patrons so they get to watch big 15, 20, 25-minute videos where I go over details that didn't make it into these kinds of videos, and also answer questions that they've asked on my Patreon page. So check it out if you're interested, okay? We'll see you guys in the next one.